you are listening or if you're on YouTube, watching Rainer on Leadership, hey, you YouTubers, thanks for being here. Hey, if you will, subscribe to our YouTube channel or at least give us a thumbs up at the very least. And for those of you who are listening on your favorite podcast app, just give us a rating, a review, and let's get the word out about Rainer on Leadership. It is a ministry that we offer free to you because of our generous sponsors. And we got two of them, and I'm going to mention the first of the two right now. Upward Sports. I mentioned this in a previous podcast. I want to just say it again. I've gotten now where I have a lot of one-on-one conversations with people, with church leaders, let me put it that way, who want to reach their community and they want their church to be younger, both of those. And I usually don't say dude, but I'm going to say it here. Dude, there is a solution for that. Have you ever checked out Upward Sports? Upward Sports is the ministry that will just do a turnkey to make your church, a league that can reach into the community. And it could be so many different possibilities. Basketball, cheerleading, soccer, flag football, volleyball, baseball, and soccer even as a league offering. I mean, there's just so many things they can do. They do it all for you. They tell you about all the resources that you'll need. And all of a sudden now, instead of saying, "Oh, my people are in sports on Sunday," no, they're doing sports in your church during the week, and you are reaching them. And I talked to a pastor this past week. He said, "We've not only learned how to reach people when they come, we develop relationships with them and take them out for meals, and they are sticking with the church." This is, I don't want to say it's the way. Obviously, there are other ways, but it is one of the best ways to reach your community with the gospel of Christ and do it in a way that is just a lot of fun, a lot of ability. So as you look toward 2025, think about adding sports outreach to your ministry. Reach new families, bless your community, reach the younger generation, the next generation. And now is the time to schedule your call to launch it. If you want to get on the list, do so to this first-class organized intentional league in the new year. Learn more, go to upward.org/church answers so that you can schedule your call. Get in touch with Upward. Great ministry. I've gotten more and more excited about it as the common question is, how do we reach people in our community and how do we get younger? All right. Usually I have at least one other Rainer with me. I'm solo here, but I do have some information that I think would be of benefit to those of you who are in ministry. And let me just give you some caveats to this. I always say, make certain that you have gotten good counsel. Make certain that what you do in your finances, you have checked with maybe an accountant, a bookkeeper, someone in finance. But there's so many things that ministers miss that can help them with their taxes. And I'm talking about to reduce their taxes legally, ethically, and legitimately. And I'm going to talk about three of them that you may not know about, but don't forget the big one that most do know about. And that big one is housing allowance. You know, how does a housing allowance work? Well, first of all, you have to be legitimately described as a minister, licensed or ordained as described by the IRS. You can look at their particular description of it. There's a breadth there. It's designed for many different ones who are in ministry. You can only count actual housing expenses. Your organization has to have a housing allowance that you cannot go over when you do that, and you cannot go over what would be considered the fair rental value of your home either per year. Again, those are the type of things. I would recommend that you look up Art Rainer's book on the housing allowance. I mean, that particular book is really a good book. You can get it at Amazon, and it's just a tiny book on the housing allowance. I would read that. My purpose in this one is not to talk about the housing allowance because we've talked about it a lot, but to talk about three other tax benefits you may or may not know. And the first one has an acronym to it, RMD. Now, what does RMD mean? Required Minimal Distribution. RMD. Required Minimal Distribution. What does that mean, Thom? Well, some of you who are old like me may already be receiving some kind of retirement income. I am, and I get my retirement income through an RMD. That's one of the sources that I get. Now, what is an RMD? Well, RMD is the amount of money that the IRS says you have to withdraw from your retirement fund if it was a deferred fund like a 401k or a 403b. So if I know there are a lot of you out there who invested the funds with Guidestone as one example. There are plenty others, and it's time for retirement. And now that you've hit that certain age, the IRS says, "Hey, you got to start withdrawing money out." Why does the IRS want you to take it out? Well, you put it in tax free. They want you to take it out so they can tax you. That's why they're saying it's a RMD. It's a required minimal distribution. And again, you can check with the organization where you put your funds in the 403b or the 401k and say, "Hey, will you figure out my RMD for me?" That most of them will contact you. That's what Guidestone did with me, and they said, "Okay, Tom, it's time for RMD." It really wasn't time. You don't have to do it till you're well into your 70s, and 72, if I remember. You need to look that up. I don't have it right in front of me, but I wanted to go in and start taking mine because I knew I could get some of my retirement out tax free. Wait a minute, Tom, you said you put it in tax free, but you got to take it out and pay taxes on it. Yes and no. Well, most people, when they take money out of their retirement fund and it was deferred taxes, in other words, you didn't pay taxes on it when it went in, you take it out, you got to pay taxes. However, not so fast. Those of you who are in ministry and you have a housing allowance, remember, we just talked about that. If the organization is like a Guidestone or some type of ministry organization, and that's where you invested your funds, you can take out your funds as a housing allowance. And again, you have to meet the test of it being a housing expense or a housing allowance, if you will, but you can do so. So what does that mean? You put the money in tax free. Now you can take it out tax free. I'm finding that too many ministers do not know that, and they're paying taxes on their withdrawal from their 401k or their 403b, actually called a distribution, required minimal distribution. And many ministers can take it out as a housing allowance. It's tax free. I strongly encourage you to check into that. If you're getting retirement funds or if you plan on getting retirement funds, work with the investment firm, that ministry that you've put that money in, and say, "Hey, I can get a housing allowance. I would like to do that." I actually started doing my RMD early. I'm not even at the age where I have to take out my retirement. That will come a few years from now. And so I started taking it out at my first eligible age so that I could take out as much as possible as a housing allowance. It's legal, it's ethical, it is legit. So I recommend that many of you do that. That many of you do that. Hey, and just let me pause a minute before I forget this. There is an incredible report that you can get if you're interested in a lot of things that's going on in the Christian health or Christian finance world. Just go to christianfinancialhealth.com and look at that massive resource on what's going on in Christian finance. We're giving you a lot of financial information now. That particular resource was put out by Christian Money Solutions, and I got to tell you, to me, it's the best work that I've seen on this is what's happening in the world of Christian finance. So the first thing that I wanted to mention to you, though, was getting your RMD tax free. Okay. Secondly, you can get some deductions and put it on what is called a Schedule C, and it reduces your taxes. Allow me to explain. Ministers are considered self-employed even if they are duly also employed by the church. They're also considered self-employed. And so one of the ways that ministers can account for ministry expenses is by putting it on an IRS form when you do your tax returns, or your accountant or your bookkeeper does it, and it's called Schedule C. What kind of expenses can you put on Schedule C? Books that are used for ministry, any type of supplies that are used for ministry, anything that you can show legitimately is an expense related to your work of ministry, you can put it on your Schedule C and take it as a deduction. So, what are the implications about that? Deduction means it is coming out of the amount of your income. And so your income is lowered for tax purposes. And therefore, you again are paying fewer dollars in taxes. So, RMD, required minimal distribution, you can take that as a housing allowance, check with wherever you have invested those funds and make sure it's all legitimate. And there are certain tax deductions, expenses that you in ministry can put on Schedule C. And of course, the first one that came to my mind was books and related ministry types of items. So some of you pastors spend $500 to $1,000 a year on books. Well, if it's ministry related, and by the way, ministry related means that you're using it for a legitimate ministry purpose. That may include sermon illustrations, and you may want to buy a history book so you can then use that for sermon illustrations. So you have to be legit in it, but you can take those deductions. Okay, a third one that many ministers don't know about is certain educational expenses. Now, I want to be clear on this. The word is certain, or maybe we should even say specific educational expenses. You cannot just say, "Oh, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to put all of that as a deduction and take that as an expense on Schedule C." Can't do that. However, if it is very clear that the education you are getting is used to further your specific ministry role, like taking seminary classes, going to Church Answers University. We'll give you a link to that if you're interested in a diploma in Christian ministry, where you can get all of your courses for $1,500 and all your books included in that. That's another story into itself. Those are the type of educational expenses that can be deducted because it is directly related to your ministry. It is directly related to what you do. Again, I got to be clear. It doesn't mean that you can do all education expenses, but there are a number that you can justify, and you can say, you know what? I really took this degree or took this diploma program at Church Answers University to further my ministry ability. I took this certification, church consultation. I took this to further my ministry ability. Remember, that can be a tax deduction. So when we start talking about tax benefits, most of the time, people in ministry start thinking about housing allowance. Once again, I refer you to Art Rayner's little book on the housing allowance, and get it at Amazon. We'll put that in the show notes as well. This simple move for a church for you to do these things is an incredible way to lower your overall taxable income and therefore pay less in taxes. Anything that we suggest to you here about paying less in taxes is always legal, it's always ethical, it's always legit. But we're asking also, double check us, make sure with your accountant, your bookkeeper, the firm where you invested your 401k or your 403b, double check with them, because we don't want to just put you out there and not give you correct facts. These are good facts, but they need to know if it is in the context of eligibility for you. So those are three of the tax benefits that many ministers may not know. Once again, I just want to refer you back to that incredible research project that has been done by Christian Ministry Solutions, ChristianFinancialHealth.com. And then I'm going to mention one other thing before I go. This is in the way of what is coming up. And I thought it would be best to mention it in the context of tax benefits or stewardship, if you will. Coming in the very near future, we are going to introduce my church staff. What is my church staff? Imagine that you have a church of 100 and 150 in attendance, or 75 or 40 in attendance, or 500 or 600. In other words, any church of any size. Imagine if you could have a staff person to take care of all of the stewardship in the church. That would mean the budget. That would mean helping with promote the giving, to look at legacy giving, to get people to put the church in their will. And someone took that off your plate. You say, well, that's only big churches can have that kind of person. No, you can too. My church staff releases in November. And what we will do is we will allow 25 churches initially. We will support that staff person with resources, with mentoring, with guidance every single month for them within your church to do all of the things that you say maybe you could have never done, like promote the budget and legacy giving and go to people and talk about increasing their giving to the church and all of the things that you could dream of with a stewardship pastor or stewardship minister or stewardship director. We are going to support that person. It will cost your church $100 per month. That's it, $100 per month. And quite frankly, the giving that you're likely to see increase is going to be remarkable. And so you'll say, man, this $100 a month is nothing compared to what we're now seeing as a result of having this person on staff. Now, how do you get this person on staff? That person's probably in your church right now. We'll help you find him, her. You can call them a stewardship minister, stewardship director, stewardship pastor. That's up to you. We'll help you find that person, and then we will train them. We call it onboarding. And then every single month, they will be working with Art Rayner, and they will be getting tons of resources, and they will be getting guidance, and they will be able to talk with him and communicate with him directly. And as a result, it'll be like having a staff. It will be having a staff person on your church staff to be able to take care of stewardship. We release 2 in November: minister of music, or worship pastor, or director, whatever you want to call, and the stewardship pastor. Those are the 2 staff positions that we release for $100 a month. You can pick the type of staff person you need, and any size church now can start adding staff. We'll start adding other positions in 2025, but we're starting off with the minister of music, again, worship, whatever you want. You decide what the title is, and then in stewardship. And I really want to encourage you to do this, well, both of them, but stewardship too, because you'll see your giving go up, and you'll more than pay for this particular position. So what do? Go to info@churchanswers, info@churchanswers.com, INFO, and tell them you are interested in the stewardship pastor or the minister of music position, and we will help you to find that person. You may already have them, but you just want someone to guide them. You may already have a worship leader on board. You may need someone to guide them. So whatever the case may be, we'll find them, or we'll work with an existing staff person. And for $100 a month, you can have a staff person, probably someone already in your church. Our first 2 positions are stewardship and our minister of music. So if you are interested, go to info@churchanswers.com. Tell them you're interested in stewardship pastor, the minister of music. Again, the title is up to you. We'll put you on the list, and if you're one of the first 25, you will be in the first group of 25 to add this staff position to your church, or staff positions as the case may be. You may want both, minister of music and stewardship pastor. Once again, let me review these 3 areas that many pastors or other staff and other ministers do not know are tax benefits: getting the required minimal distribution from your 401k or your 403b tax-free, certain deductions that you can find in your Schedule C, and then that you can put in your Schedule C to lower your overall income, that lowers your taxes, and then certain educational expenses. Go back and listen to what I said. It doesn't mean all educational expenses, but those that appertain or apply directly to your ministry, those are the ones that you can get. A lot of information here, a lot of good stuff, a lot of opportunities for the church. I continue to be the obnoxious optimist about the future of the American church, because we're seeing so many things that God is doing in so many ways. And I know that your church is a blessing to your community. We try to be a blessing to your churches. Well, before we go, we want to thank California Baptist. California Baptist University has been our sponsor for quite a while, and we're just honored that we're able to serve alongside them. Sure, you can go to Riverside, California, that beautiful campus, and you can enjoy the beauty that is there, and just go on campus and stay for 3, 4, 5 years. They'd love to have you. Or you can go online. Their online program is really, robust. They have over 36 graduate and undergraduate degrees online, many of them in 8-week modules that allow you to, I'm going to take it and then I'm going to take a break. They have a new one in organizational leadership. It's incredible if you want to get a degree in that area. And it's designed for you, the working professional, to be able to get your undergraduate or your graduate degree online. And they will, if there's any way that you need some type of financial help, they will work with you in that area to see where your eligibility may reside. Thank you, California Baptist University. As always, we appreciate you being our sponsor. You can go to calbaptist.edu, or you can look at that in the show notes. Once again, thank you for being a part of this podcast, Rainer on Leadership. One Rainer today, Thom Rainer. In the future, we'll see Sam Rainer, maybe just Rainer, maybe Art Rainer, but there will be a Rainer coming back, and usually I will be with them. Thank you, as always, for being a part of Rainer on Leadership. See you in the next podcast.